The next biggest winner is brought to you in part by... Welcome back to The Next Biggest Winner. This is episode 2 that we're filming from Vancouver and the World Resource Investment Conference. We've got 3 great companies for you today. You've already heard us speak to Panoro Minerals. Next up is Golden Goliath Resources and then the North Shore Mining Group. Now, Golden Goliath Resources is focused on gold and silver in Mexico. But where this company differs is they've gained the confidence of the likes of Sprott Asset Management and Agnico-Eagle Mines, who have made significant investments in the company. Here to talk to us today, Paul Sorbara. Paul, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you very much, George. Pleasure to be here.
You've got a lot of companies who are looking for gold and silver in Mexico. How were you able to attract such significant ownership positions from the likes of Sprott Asset Management and Agnico-Eagle Mines?
I think it has to do with the potential of the area that we're in and the quality of our projects. In Agnico's case, before they invested, they sent their own team of geologists down there and did their own due diligence and research. And after they got their report back to the head office, that's when they decided to not only invest in the company, but join the board of directors.
So is it more all the projects that you've got in the area, they're also strong, or do you got a flagship or 2 that they're really, really
Well, we have 2 or 3 that are flagship. We have about 8 projects in this one area that covers a district of about 15 by 25 kilometers. And Agnico is currently earning in on one of those projects. Another company, Comstock Metals, is earning in on another one. And the other 6 we're still operating ourselves. But there's been a new discovery adjacent to one of our other projects by Fresnillo PLC, which is the largest silver company in the world, but it's actually a gold discovery, and it's very significant, and it's actually contiguous to our Nopalera property. And they've already established a resource of 9.6 million ounces of gold and 13 million ounces of silver, and that spurred a lot of new development and infrastructure improvements in the area and a lot of interest in the area. So Carlos Slim has now moved in, the world's 2nd largest man. He's bought the Orico gold mine just to the north of us and their exploration properties. And then, of course, Agnico has their own Pinos Altos mine, which is only about 40 or 50 kilometers away from us anywhere. So it's a very active district right now.
So what kind of an advantage is it for you to have Agnico-Eagle doing all the exploration and taking care of all the expenses on your project right now?
Well, it's very beneficial for us because we have more projects than we can really explore at one time. So having them spend their money and earn interest on one of them is great for us. We own all of the projects 100% anyway, so letting them earn an interest, in this case 51% out of the gate after 5 years of work, that's fine for us. It helps reduce our exploration costs.
Which is I got to admit, a huge advantage right now, given the fact that a lot of venture companies are having trouble raising money. So if it's coming out of somebody else's pocket.
Very true. And it keeps the news flow going. And we're working on our other projects, and we're talking to people about Nopalera, and we have an underground project at San Martin, which is very interesting. But we can't be spending huge amounts of money of our own capital doing a lot of different drill programs on all of the different projects. It's just too much cash involved.
How much does Agnico have to spend for their earning? It's in the millions of dollars.
Yeah, they have to spend $5 million to earn 51%, and then they can do a feasibility study or spend another $10 million for an additional 20 points. So they can earn a potential 71% of the Los Hilos project.
So the Sprott investment differs a little bit from the Agnico investment because Sprott has invested directly into the companies, whereas Agnico is investing directly into your projects. When did Sprott become a shareholder of your company?
Sprott became a shareholder quite a few years ago. Agnico is a shareholder too, as well as investing in the projects. And Agnico's been there since the very beginning, since we went public in 2000. Sprott's been there for probably 6 or 7 years now.
You're primarily focused on gold and silver.
Yes.
The trajectory of gold and silver over the last 12 months has not been the most positive. Has not been the most positive light. Are you concerned about where we are right now as far as the trajectory? Do these prices make you nervous at all? And if not, why not? Where do you see them going to in the future?
They don't make me nervous at the moment because we're really looking at it from the long-term point of view. I think there's manipulation, or people say there's manipulation in the gold market, but I think in the long term, gold's here to stay. It's been around for 5,000 years basically as money, and it's not going anywhere soon.
Where do you need gold and silver to be at a worst case scenario in order to make sure that the current projects you do have in Mexico are feasible?
We don't have a feasibility study, so we don't know what our actual production costs would be on any of the any of the different projects. But I think if the prices were just where they are today, that's still very good. Throughout most of my career, gold was $400 an ounce and silver was $7 an ounce. So we certainly come a long way from that.
Let me end off with this: Mexico. What's it like doing business in Mexico? As a lot of people take more comfort if projects are located within North America proper, I guess, U.S. and Canada. What do you say to investors who may have any concerns about Mexico and the things you hear?
I've never had a problem in Mexico. I don't pay bribes or anything like that in Mexico. The people are good to work with. We don't have any security issues. We have a very good relationship with the local people, and that's very, very important in the mining industry.
Well, it's great to hear, because it makes certain that you'll be back on the show at a future date.
I'll be back.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
The North Shore Mining Group is comprised of 4 different companies, notably of which are VMS Ventures and the Reed Copper Project, which is going into production in Q4 2013, and North American Nickel, a massive world-class exploration project in Greenland. Here to talk to us more about them is Rick Mark of the North Shore Mining Group. Rick, welcome to the show.
George, great to see you.
VMS Ventures, we'll start off with that one. You're going into production in Q4 of 2013, which is so important in this day and age when investors have given up on greenfield exploration projects. Tell us about the economics and what you see for this project.
Well, it's exciting for the shareholders, of course. We made the discovery in 2007, very high-grade copper play, small tonnage, high grade, close to surface, right beside a highway. HudBay is our partner. They trade in Toronto. They're the kings of the belt. They've been operating up in Manitoba for some 80 years. We own 30% of it, George, and we're carried to production. It's about $1 billion metal in the ground. So we are expecting production at the end of this year, and we anticipate cash flow beginning at the end of 2015, somewhere between $70 and $125 million.
Cash flow.
Cash flow to VMS.
That's unbelievable.
At these copper prices. And if you're a believer in copper, VMS is kind of a cool play, because as the copper price goes higher, the cash flow really increases quite quickly, and we would love to see it back over $4, quite frankly.
So when you guys did your analysis and you came up with these cash flow numbers, at what price were you valuing copper at the time?
HudBay put it together, and the PEA was working off a $2.85 copper price, so it's profitable at $2.85.
And we're at $3.30 right now, so everybody at home knows where we're at right now. So you're even more profitable.
Yeah, VMS is a junior investment. We're not going away. We have an opportunity to see cash flow, but what are we going to do with it? That's what the investors want to know. And of course, we're looking for projects all over the world. We also have a large land position in the Flin-Snow Lake VMS belt in Manitoba, where there's been over 30 discoveries. So we're in great shape for the exploration end of the business. And you mentioned North American Nickel, and that's kind of going to be the fun thing for VMS shareholders this summer, since we own about 27 million shares of North American Nickel. So
before we get to North American Nickel, one last question. You said earlier about VMS, you're carried right through to production. A lot of people at home may not know what that necessarily means, but explain that a little more and why that's so important to you.
Well, it's so important because none of our treasury is used on developing and building the mine, operating the mine. We will pay back HudBay out of our initial 30% share. But once that's paid back, we simply share in the revenues from the mine. We take 30, they take 70. It's a very good deal for VMS shareholders.
That's great. Good for you. So let's talk about North American Nickel. This is a world-class expert, 5,000 square kilometers in Greenland. Why are you so excited about it when a lot of other people are not so excited about exploration plays?
Well, it's just a remarkable opportunity, and it's one of these stories where the area has been known. First of all, Greenland is suddenly in the news. There's a lot of activity in Greenland. PDAC this year, every Greenland meeting was jammed. We got in a couple of years ago through some relationships we have with a couple of Australian guys who've been in the business for many, many years and know the game. They liked us. We worked with them in another company that we have in our group, and they brought us this massive opportunity, thinking it was a meteor impact. Sudbury is a meteor impact.
Right.
Sudbury's probably been worth about $1 trillion, they tell me, over the last 100 years. That's what we're looking for, George. We're not looking for a nickel deposit. We're looking for a nickel camp. And so we've spent 2 years looking at the old data. There were some guys in the 60s that went out and drilled literally with these small hand drills. They happened to drill 119 holes over 10 years. And then Falconbridge and Cameco showed up after Voisey's Bay in the late 90s. Falconbridge studied all of that core. So we have this remarkable data set that tells us that the nickel tenor, which really reflects how much nickel is there if we have sulfides, is quite high across the entire 75 kilometers. And for the big geo thinkers, they want to think that this was a huge event that would distribute the nickel across the whole 75 kilometers, which gave us a lot more confidence that maybe there's nickel all over the place. So we've flown it. Today's technology, flying VTEM, dragging low hoops of testing magnetic bouncing signals for the non-technical off a helicopter. Cameco flew it way up here fast, couldn't see anything. We are about to announce more targets. We've announced 75 targets in this belt. We're about to announce more targets and begin drilling in June.
So the one adage that we hear in life is be careful what you wish for. This is so big that can you handle it? Because that requires a lot of people and a lot of money. So how do you eat this big elephant? Is this eat the big elephant one gulp at a time? How do you do this?
It really is part of the story, because a year ago, a group called the Sentient Group, whose fourth fund is a $1 billion fund, who work exclusively in resources around the world, found us. And they had been looking at Greenland. And they came in and bought 25% of the company a year ago at $3.4 million. Now, normally, George, stocks would trade on such news.
Sure.
These are credible guys. They're followed around the world. Stock didn't trade. And in the 12 months since, we've gone out, we've flown it, we've drilled it, we've got ore grade mineral results from our drill holes. Stock doesn't trade. Sentient just put in another $3+ million, continues to own and will own about 30% of the company. So for those that are looking for kind of, is anybody else with us? Absolutely. I mentioned it's a $1 billion fund. So Sentient is our protectorate. The big guys don't get to come and chase this thing too early.
Right.
So we're spending $5.5 million this year. We'll be drilling several targets on our way back to our discovery area. All of the stories on the website, people can take a look at it.
And I got to tell you, from my point of view, there are a lot of people out there who say, look at me, what I've got. I've always said, who else thinks you have a beautiful baby? So when you have that kind of third-party validation, when companies are putting millions of dollars in different stages, that tells me that you're really onto something there. All right. Well, I want to talk to you more about the price of copper and nickel in the roundtable. So,
okay.
Thanks for joining us, and then we're going to have you right back in the roundtable.
Great, George. Thanks.
Stay tuned for our roundtable discussion right after this commercial. The next biggest winner is brought to you in part by